Okay. Next up, I would like to present a quick video by Patrick, founder of the OpenAPIHub community, and he's going to talk very briefly about developers documentation, your secret weapon. So we can bring the video up to the screen, and we'll start it right away.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Patrick, the organizer of Apidays HongKong. This section was reserved for Frederick, who is a very experienced developer relationship manager, but due to some last-minute issue, he cannot be joining this section. So I have discussed with him, and then he has passed me the material, and so that I do the recording last night, because at the same time I should be doing the MC in the track one. So please bear with me. I will have to do the quick presentation so that you can also enjoy the content. So let's kick started. So let me share my screen first. Okay. So the topics of this section is talk about the developers documents, your secret weapon. So once again, I want to credit Frederick. He is a very experienced developer relationship manager, spent 10 years in developers and 10 years in developer relationships. So this is one statement from Frederick, which I also agree. So the developer documentation should not be a separate part. It should be the integral part of the product. You cannot separate them or share it without one and the others. So because as you may imagine, if you have a SaaS product, it is very difficult. If your product is very comprehensive, very advanced, it is very difficult for them to discover the full usage of your product. They may still be able to use it, but they may be just using part of it and maybe affecting their experience as well. So we believe that the developer documentation should be very important, especially nowadays we are talking about API as a product. So what is the benefit if we spend more time on the developer documentations? First of all, of course, is to gain the developer love. Why is it so important? Because nowadays, developer is a very important stakeholders when we are communicate the technical products or try to buy in whether your platform should be adopted in a modern business. Developer is the first engagement point. You may not be able to meet them. They may be doing evaluation online. So the developer document is the first interface they will be touching on. So if your document is not up to standard, up to the expectation, very difficult use, you may be losing your potential customer as well. Also, they may be also missing out some good differentiation that your product is offering with your competitor. So that's why developers documents used to be focusing more so they can get the developer buy-in. On the other hand, text-based communication is now more and more important, especially after the COVID situation, because remote first is now pretty much by default. In the old day, the team is still maybe working together in the same room, talk to each other about the enhancement, or the troubles, the defects, and actually they may really not relying purely on the documentation if your team is still small. But now, even if it's a small sub team, your team member may be in different area, or even your kind, you cannot really see them as I mentioned. So text-based communication is now very, very critical. So whenever they have something to understand with a well-documented developer documents, you can share to them and then see where's the gap. Once you've identified some problem, or even though maybe some improvement point, we can make it as a baseline so that it can be improved and then accumulate the effort and then share to the others so that your communication will be more and more effective. And there will be no more maybe outdated confusing documents. So based on these two major benefits, we want to, during this section, we want to share more tips and tricks how to have a better development document management. First of all, of course, is the content. So you need to create a lot of content, but there's still a few tricks we need to pay attention and don't be overlooked. The first one, it may sound trivial, is the search bar. So nowadays we have a lot of different content features or function. So people will try to search across the document, but unlike in the old days, it's shipped through the PDF or Microsoft Works. We have a built-in search function with hundreds of pages. Now it may be in the web pages. So if you are not able to provide an easy to use search function, it may make difficult for them to access some specific informations. And then this is part of the maybe degrade the developer experience. On the other hand, is try to attend to the details. I can still recall my old days. If we are doing the document back to the financial industry, we need to pay very attention on the indentation, all the table format, etc., so that it can be consistent. It's still the same. So, but we also need to make sure that okay, all of the details such as the screen cap, code example, need to be reviewed regularly so that it can also provide a good experience to the developers so that your platform is still up to date, you're spending enough effort to support them. The first one is talk about the content structure. If some of you may be be familiar with the user experience topics, there's one concept called the information architectures. It's talking about how to better organize different content in an easy to read way. So you instead of listing out all the pages in one single index, you may need to logically group that in different sections. Maybe some content will maybe duplicate in different sections with core interlinkage because it can improve better on the interlinking experience, the reading experience, etc. Just for example, some the water document, they will have a get started section, maybe will contain the 3 to 5 article. Anyone will try to read when the first time they try to pay on the platform. And then they will drill down to other details when they are getting more familiar. They can also try to skip through some of the get started if they are advanced user, maybe go to the advanced topic, but you can imagine the content structure is really important to design in day one. One quick tips that I want to remind everyone is talking about your audience. Although they are technical developers, don't assume they are as experienced as you. So even though they are very experienced, they may not be in the same domain. They may not be using the same framework or version with you. So try to assume they know nothing first, and then provide all the essential content that they can be scanning through and then make the decision whether they will start from the entry content, intermediate content, etc. It requires quite some effort and also design on the structure. So of course, you can also need to keep monitor what is the common question they will be raising, and then try to revisit like a product, the developer document, how they should be cater legs or improve the content legs as a backlog. Another thing we want to highlight is screenshots. So no one want to read a document without a single diagram or screenshot because nowadays there may be the platform is getting more and more complicated. Even though we are very experienced, different people may have different cultural experience. When they read the text, they may have different imaginations. So screenshot do also make differences. And according to Frederick, there's also some interesting finding from him so that we can also make some vector screenshot with a little bit trees here. So he come to an example. So of course, okay, maybe we are trying to show there's an API key you need to redeem or copy to the others example, but we never want to expose this kind of thing. So maybe, okay, typically we'll use a back bar to actually hide it, but it actually maybe affect the audience attention. So as you may see, your attention will be immediately focused on the back bar. So we may try to do some light track light using the morphic processing so that it may remove these kinds of attentions. Okay, this is also common that you may want to have a web rectangle to let the audience focus on, okay, what is the next step, etc. But it is also affecting the developer's feeling, because it's not actually part of your user experience. And then maybe to some of the layman people, they find, okay, why the web bar is missing. So there may be some trick like, okay, maybe try to dim the other part of the screenshot so that the people can be focused. Okay. So another key reminder is that all the documents should conduct a regular peer review. So never think that, okay, once I do the document, it is now published, and then okay, I can go away and then work on my code. So especially if you are the one doing the development and you are the one writing the document, you have a lot of perception of bias. So you may write something that you feel that the others already understand. Okay, so try to get your peer or maybe some junior intern or non-technical people to help you to peer review your content to ensure that it can fit different persona. So this is a very simple trick, but many people may be overlooked it. It may not spend a lot of time, but it's very helpful. Never forget your code examples. The code example is a very key element to help your developer to reach their first time to how role. So instead of reading a document without doing, developers enjoy try to copy the example, test it, pair one of it. So make sure that you have some cooks snippet, and also make sure they're up to date. Okay, we talk about the content. Then what about the containers? Okay, the container means maybe okay, what kind of technology or what kind of format you want to keep the content there. In the old day, it may like PDF, Excel, Word, or Microsoft Word. So we have a lot of different kind of tool nowadays. For example, we got the maybe WordPress, even WordPress, etc. Or also Gitbook. So this kind of tool can actually help you to host better documentation with some functions. So when you are trying to pick this kind of container, there's a few consideration. For example, they need to be very fast. Okay, so considering that if you are trying to look up the content and you need to switch different pages. Okay, for each pages, you need to wait for 2 to 3 minutes or as low second, then it may not be a very good experience and actually getting the developer away. On the other hand, some of the if you are doing a regional SaaS product, some region may not be have a very solid internet access like yours, so they may still be using the 3G access, etc. So try to pay attention on the attachment as well. So for the screen cap, maybe you need to compress it a bit and then make sure that it is delivered fast to the developer side. It may sounds old school, but we can still see that there are quite a lot of document may not be in responsive. So when they try to look in the tablet or phone, some of the features is not working, maybe your menu is overlapping the content, etc. Although most of the developers like me, I may have 2 to 3 monitors so that I have a full page, a very large screen to check the documents. But you can't be avoid for some young new generation developer, they may have an iPad or even phone sitting next to their screen to check that. And then with their finger scroll it. So this kind of impression can also help the engagement with the developers. And as I mentioned, in our old days, we and also for developer, we keen to build the thing our own. But whether you need to build your own developer document platform or site is still be a question. So as I mentioned, there may be some open source tooling or some SaaS tooling can actually help. Try to expose those and then try to spend your time focus mainly on the content, but not building the site or maintaining the document sites. So make sure that you spend your time wisely there. Okay, so in the end, we want to conclude a bit on the documentation thoughts. So I would say the documentation part is always work in progress, except your product is stopped developing. So never make it never wait until it is completely perfect. Try to push it out and then see the response from the community and try to be responsive and then update them regularly. So this actually can help setting the expectation of the developer. You are very active on the product. So never wait till the last minute and try to push first and then make corrections, set the expectation earlier. And we believe that with the documentation, if it is a clear one, it can help your product to differentiate from your competitor, especially some hidden features that people may not be aware. You still need to have some people to evangelize or promote this kind of feature through the developer documents or maybe some external blog or API tutorial, which serve as a supplement to the standard documentations. So this is the last tips. I know there's a lot of company will be trying to get the software developer to do the documentation, but also based on my experience and also Frederick's experience. So you may need to have dedicated members on this because we can say the developer documents is also part of the product. So they actually need some time and effort to manage it, keep improving it, so that it will be reaching a state that which the developer and document it. So we will highly suggest that we will have 1 or 2 people focus on that, even though all you think that the document may not occupy all of his time, so they can still help you on some other developer engagement tasks like blog article, API tutorial, etc. So that's basically what the material we got from Frederick. And once again, we want to credit Frederick for his awesome content. And I'm not as experienced as him in the developer relationship domain, so please bear with me. So I hopefully we will get Frederick to support our event in the next years. And please feel free to reach him out if you have any question. Thank you. Please enjoy the remaining of the API Days Hong Kong. Thank you.
Big thanks to Patrick for presenting the video, and thank you to Frederick for providing the contents.